Hello, Tanya here from MiSlope.com, here with another tool overview video. So today we're going to be talking about the open back dress pattern. So we are releasing a series of 3. So if you're seeing this video, there are 2 other dress tools for you to collect them all. So we're going to have the open back dress pattern, the one-piece dress pattern, and my favorite, the princess seam dress pattern, which is going to feature some really beautiful design lines. So let's hop into the details of the open back dress pattern. If you've used the open back leotard, the options are going to be very similar. The only thing that is different is we're going to be able to adjust the hemline and the length of your dress. So if you're doing a ballroom costume, if you're putting together a lyrical piece, even figure skating, this dress does not have a seam at the waistline, so it's one piece. Also, if you are just designing because it's summertime and you want something to twirl in, this is also for you. So let's hop into the details. As always, we have our custom size profiles, and then we have our size envelopes, Missy Curvy up into men's regular. And for demo, I'm going to pick a Missy Curvy size 6. I'm going to go with centimeters. Like the open back leotard, we have the gape fix and the no gape fix. So if you're gonna sew with a center back seam and not as necessary with a leotard, but really want to make sure that there's no gaping at the back, you can go with a bit of a tighter length in the open back. So you would click no gape fix, but because a dress weighs the back down a bit more, it's not really as necessary, but I still put that option there for you. So let me just show you actually really quickly what the gape fix and what no gape fix is. So gape fix, and then we'll just throw in 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. A lot of seam allowance options here. Okay, so I'm going to show you just quickly what the gape fix and no gape fix does to the pattern. So quickly, I'm going to fill in my center front seam. Let's do 35 centimeters. Center back seam, we want a little bit of extra length in the back to accommodate the bootay. And then our side seam, you know what, we're gonna make it a little asymmetrical. So let me just show you really quick. 1, 1, 1, not 12. 1, 1, 1, 1, and then we'll just do a can 12%. And so this is no gape fix, but let me show you what the gape fix does. It's gonna rotate your pieces. So we lose a little bit of length in that back curve, so it just sits a bit tighter. So, like I mentioned before, not really that necessary with a dress because you do have that weight of the hem that is gonna weigh everything down, but just for some extra stability. Okay, so let's go into the seam, the hemline. So we have 3 adjustments here. If you've ever used our free circle skirt tool, you could actually do this in the free circle skirt tool as well. So you could make your hem the same length all the way around. So center back, side seam, and center front. So if you wanted to have everything symmetrical and there isn't too much bootay to accommodate for, you could literally do a 35. I'm using 35 as an example, but if you wanted to, let's say, have everything look symmetrical, let's see, side seam, and we just wanted to put an inch more in the back, let's say we go 37.5, just so everything looks symmetrical. This is what she's gonna look like. So very symmetrical piece there. And then if we wanted to give that asymmetrical look, I personally love this look. Side seam. Ooh, let's make it really saucy. Let's make a spicy side seam. We see that we can do that as well. If you really want to create an asymmetrical dress look, I'm trying to think. If you really like a ballroom dress, for example, where the side seam, so what you can do is you would generate this pattern twice. So I'm trying to think how you can really hack it. So generate this pattern twice, and then you would make your center front the same. And then you would, let's see, I don't think I've tested this yet. So side seam length, or maybe I have. We're gonna see what happens. Let's make it 60. Yeah, there you go. So you would take your first, you would take this piece, and then you would just mirror this piece, and then you have an asymmetrical look for your dress. So a lot of options there. So that is how you can play with the hem of the dress. And then for flare, this is really fun. So flare is based on the hip measurement. So if you wanted a bodycon, very tight dress, you could set that at 0, and that would basically take into account your negative ease, and it's gonna fit very tight from your bust. Well, I mean, it's gonna fit you tight everywhere up into your hips, and then the hip down, so you're gonna have that asymmetrical look with the negative ease. Note here, I put 12% negative ease. So, you know, when you're flaring out your skirts, typically you wouldn't apply any negative ease to the hem for an asymmetrical look if you want there to be a little bit more movement. So I'm using 12% as an example. If I increase my flare to 12%, that is just gonna be the hip measurement with no negative ease applied. When I go lower, so like 8%, that's gonna be technically 8% negative ease applied to the hip. This is our full 12, and then it just subtracts up until our 12%. And then anything above 12 is gonna be positive. So if I really want a really flared out skirt, we'd put our flare at 100. I'm gonna put this at a normal. Let's put this at 35. So it's basically gonna be 100 times 97. So I'm gonna submit, and then we're gonna download, and then you're gonna see that there is quite a bit of flare. And then in our measurement legend here, you see the flare amount. So flare percentage is 100, and hip flare is 193. So that's basically what your hem is. So if you like a look or you're experimenting, you would just reference this and be like, oh, okay, when I sewed my sample, the flare at 150, I want a bit extra. Let's go to 100, and then you have your baseline there. You can hack it even more by increasing your hip measurement, like straight up in the hip measurement input, but yeah. So this is how all the tools are gonna work. Yes, that's how all the tools are gonna work. The dress tools in terms of flare, and the asim skirt works the same way. So moving on to the other pattern inputs. So we have our additional neck ease to fit over the head. We have a video here, but this is basically going to increase, the neck hole. So from your default neck measurement, it's gonna just make it a little bigger. Because the sloper is what we're basing this off of, and a sloper is everything skin tight. So this is giving you a bit of extra ease. Strap width, we can increase our strap width. So I'm gonna push it to the max here. So let me put 12. And then we see that our strap has increased quite a bit. There are guardrails. You can't increase the strap width more than what the shoulder is. So if you try to do that, it will fail. Well, it's not gonna fail, it's just gonna cap it at your shoulder width. Open back depth and open back end. So I have a video here explaining it. I admit, I sometimes forget what these do and have to reference the videos myself. Open back end. I love how I don't have a description here. That's very helpful, Tanya. Okay, open back end is basically where the open back, so on this guy, where this point is gonna end. So if your nape is here, waist is here, so nape to waist, let's use a 40.9, which is what it is with the size envelope. So if I wanted, let's say, the back curve to end here, I would put, let's say 20. So I know that it's going to start here, it's going to end here. I struggled with naming these so that they're as descriptive as possible. Yeah, I was correct. Open back depth. Open back depth. So if you're using a clasp on like the back, like a hooky, or even like depending on how you want it to look, or if you want to manipulate where the back curve is going to go, that would be this guy. So let's say your clasp is 3 inches or it's right at an inch. You'd put 2.5, and then that's what that is going to generate. So you're going to have that 2.5. You're going to be able to fit your little claspy. Let's say you wanted to manipulate the whole back. So let's do 30, and then let's do 10. So we're going to be able to move the open back curve down the back. I hope I'm making sense. There are videos in the little rulers to help. See? Now this is, what did I put? 10? And then this is ending at 20. So just like the open back leotard, it's just in a dress version. Armhole side seam length percentage. So that is basically where your armhole is going to meet. So this is your bust line. So think where the apex of the bust lies on your body. It's typically below your armpit. So if you want more movement in the armhole, then you would set this to, I think the default is at 95, but that is misleading. So if you wanted it to be really, okay, I'm gonna back up my explanation here. If you're gonna add sleeves to this and you want it to be really tight on, like have no gap, so for movement, you're not being restricted, you would probably set this to 100. Let's hope I got that number right. Yes. So 100 is going to be closest to your armhole, is going to be the most form-fitting, and closer to 0 is going to move it closer, is going to move it to the bust line basically. So it's going to open up the armhole more. So let's put 10 to show you the difference. And there we go. Et voila. Okay, those are the pattern options here. And then main seam allowance, this is if we want to use binding. So this is going to be your shoulder seam, your side seam. That's it. Your arm, neck, back opening seam allowance, that's going to be for, I'm going to set it to 0 so you can see the difference. So this is going to be your back hole, neck hole, armhole, if you wanted to do binding, for example. Hem allowance is set separately, so that's just going to be the hem of your skirt. And then center back seam allowance, so depending on what type of enclosure you want to do, if you're going to, this is mainly if you're using the gape, no gape fix, or what kind of enclosure you're going to use, or if you're going to cut on the fold, you'll set that for what you need to set it for, but you could set it for 0 if you have enough neck ease, and then you're going to cut on the fold and you're not going to use any back enclosure. So I'm giving you a lot of flexibility in how to set your seam allowances. And as always, we have our tiles, which I know some of us do not like, that there are blank pages. Unfortunately. At the current moment, this is the best I can do, but it's definitely something I'm going to dig into more, because we are tiling from a canvas, and it's not, you know, when you're buying ready-made patterns and the pattern drafter is specifically positioning the pattern so it's optimal. The program is just taking this main canvas and just breaking it up into little pieces. So you're going to unfortunately get tiles that are this margin down here. Yeah, I know it's not everyone's favorite, but Tanya's solution to that is, I know what you're going to think. I know what you're going to say. Get a projector. That's the solution for everything. Get a projector. And one day we'll have lasers in the ceiling that cut our fabric. Cut our fabric without fumes that are dangerous. So that's something that's my dream. If anyone's seen Austin Powers with the sharks with lasers, I want the sewing version of that. I want lasers installed in my ceiling. Final piece of information here, as always, we have our measurement legend down here where you can reference all of your measurements. So before you cut into anything, I recommend downloading the full canvas and the tiles and review your measurements carefully. Make sure that nothing is weird. What is it? Measure twice, cut once? Measure 3 times, review, then cut once. And then you have your pattern specs here, your seam allowance, and the best part is our integration key. So we have our front arm side length, we have our back arm side length, we have our front neck hole and our back neck hole. So this pattern integrates with the sleeve expansion pack, so you can create a sleeve that will fit seamlessly with the dress. Let me pop a video of the open back dress that I sewed with a bell sleeve using the sleeve expansion pack here. And then for the neck, I think I also used the collar tool. So you can integrate the collar tool as well to create like a mock neck or just like help finishing. So lots of options here. Very excited. This is dress 1 out of 3 with our new dress tool release. Any questions, comments, comment them down below. As always on the website, there is a chat right here. So if something is funky, something's not working, you find a bug, you can chat me here. Look forward to seeing what you sew.